Good morning. בשם השם נעשה ונצליח. This shiur is dedicated לעילוי נשמת יחזקאל ברוך בן אברהם הלוי, חנניה בן ראובן, and Machluf ben Gracia. And all those who were murdered prior, on, and post October 7. This is also for Refuah Shlema to Avram ben Chana, Zachariah Dov ben Pearl Shira, Ora bat Dalia, Shimon Daniel ben Michal, and all our soldiers and all our sick people. And it is also dedicated to our single שיזכו לבנות בית נאמן בישראל בקדושה ובטהרה. And thank you again, Hashem. Thank you for all your chasadim. And thank you to all those who tune in to listen to listen to my shiurim, because they simply want to learn and want to grow. May Hashem bless you for it. So, the mitzvah of Ahavat Israel. So we spoke about Rabbi Akiva in the last video. Rabbi Akiva is the one who brought out how important is the mitzvah of Ve'ahavta le'reacha kamocha. So now Sefer HaChinuch explains to us the mitzvah of Ahavat Israel. The mitzvah of Ahavat Israel is the mitzvah number 243. It is the obligation to love every Jew. The mitzvah is to love each and every Jew. It doesn't matter where that Jew came from, but he is a Jew. So the mitzvah is to love each and every Jew with the same love that we have for ourselves. That means noseh be'ol im chavero, that if someone is in pain, went through some difficult through sickness or through some kind of a shock or a trauma or financially he's having trouble, so we have got to feel for that person and try to help that person and be concerned for his property, be concerned about whatever belongs to him and he himself as a person, just like as we would like others to feel for us. And actually, recently, I think it's maybe 10 days or 2 weeks ago, it happened that the Talmid of the Ari HaKadosh, Rabbi Chaim Vital, he is buried in Syria. And about 10 days to 2 weeks ago, one of those extremists in Syria went and actually dug a hole right next to the kever of Rabbi Chaim Vital and tried to destroy the kever of Rabbi Chaim Vital. And actually this happened just about around the time of his Yotzeit, of his Nachala. And that was very shocking. There were people who were saying Tehillim, people who gave tzedakah, who lit a candle for this great Rabbi Chaim Vital, that all the Kabbalah we know today is because he learned it from the Ari HaKadosh. So this is just one way how these people were actually feeling for this Chacham, whose kever, whose tomb has been disturbed. Okay, so now the question is, this is really a very hard mitzvah to fulfill. How can we fulfill this mitzvah, right? So in the Gemara, in Masechet Shabbat, um, 31a, it says, "De'alach saneh lechaverach lo ta'avid." Whatever is hated to you, like you don't like people to do to you, in that case, then don't do to your fellow man. And then comes along Rabbi Akiva, and he says, Amar in Sifri, it is written, Amar Rabbi Akiva, ze klal gadol batorah, ve'ahavta le'reacha kamocha, ze klal gadol batorah. Rabbi Akiva comes along and says, loving your neighbor as yourself is a very great principle and a very important principle of the Torah. What does this mean? It means that there are many mitzvot that actually depend on the fulfillment of this mitzvah or on the lack of fulfillment of this mitzvah. So, for example, if one loves his fellow, then he's not going to be tempted to hurt him physically or emotionally, or take advantage of him, or steal from him, or take away his wife, or overcharge him in business, or hurt him verbally, or expand his property over his neighbors, or speak lashon hara, or rechilut. Rechilut means like going around and repeating what you heard from someone else, and many, many more. And that comes from what? From loving your neighbor, from fulfilling the mitzvah of ve'ahavta le'arecha kamocha. So by fulfilling this mitzvah, we actually fulfill all the ones that we just mentioned. Not to steal, not to take away the wife of someone else, or husband, or overcharge in business and all that stuff, right? It is really a human nature that just as I treat someone else, that someone else is going to treat me back the same way. It's a human nature, right? And this kind of behavior of being careful with this mitzvah will only benefit everyone, will bring shalom among people, right? And there are so many stories about chachamim and just regular people who were just very, very careful about how they behaved when it came to actually being careful with this mitzvah, right? So there is the one story that I read a while back, and this story is telling us that there was a rabbi in Poland, I believe it is, and this rabbi was he had a Jewish maid who was an orphan, and she used to come and help his wife. However, one day while she was helping along in the house, she really damaged something that was really very, very expensive. So the wife of the rabbi was very, very upset, and she said, I'm going to take her to the bedin. And right away she got ready to go to the bedin. And then she turns around and she sees that her husband is also getting ready to go out. So she says to him, where are you going? He says, to the bedin. And she said, but I don't need you. I'll be okay on my own. He said, no, I'm not going for you. I'm going for her. She was so shocked. What do you mean you're going for her? Yeah, she's an orphan. She has no one to support her. You have me, you have your family, you have your parents, you have everybody. So you feel strong enough to handle this. She has no one. So I have to go for her. This is really very shocking to hear that, right? That like he's going against his wife, but he was really, really following the mitzvah of Ve'ahavta L'Reacha Kamocha. And in Yeshaya, Anavi, in Perek 49, Pasuk Gimel, it says, Israel asher becha et pa'er. Hashem is saying, this was a nevuah, a prophecy that Yeshaya received from Hashem. And what did he say? Hashem is saying about us, Israel, you, the Jewish nation, in whom I, Hashem, I take glory. I am so proud of you with your behavior, right? Because a Jew who has been able to overcome his tendency of pettiness and selfishness is filled with goodness and generosity. All we have to do really is look around. People who give of themselves, who do chesed, and who constantly are being careful not to hurt people's feelings, and who constantly give of themselves. This is Israel asher becha et pa'er. Hashem is saying, I am so proud of you because you are going out of your way and you're doing everything to fulfill the mitzvah correctly and properly. And not only that, but it actually exemplifies the moral perfection expected from Am HaNivhar. This is the moral perfection that Hashem expects of us. We are the chosen nation. This is what Hashem expects of each and every one of us. Why? Because this reflects on Hashem. Since He's chose us, He gave us His Torah to learn and to practice, right? And this is how He behaves with us, with lots of chesed and rahamim. And so that it has a reflection, our behavior has a reflection on Hashem. The Ramban says, Rabbi Meir ben Nachman, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, who used to be a doctor. He was the king's doctor in Spain. I'm going to say about 13 or 1400. That was before the Inquisition, and he was also his finance minister. He had to run away from Spain because in those days, many times they used to have debates, and they had a debate. The Catholic, the bishop or the priest wanted a debate, and the king, who loved very much the Ramban, said to him, your life is in danger. Privately, the king said to him, because if you win, your life is in danger, but if you lose, your life is still in danger. So he knew, he prepared himself for it, and right after the debate, he had to run away, escape from Spain. So the Ramban, who explains the Torah, says it's impossible for someone to love someone else as much as he loves himself. It's impossible, right? The human heart is not capable of such selflessness. I'm sorry. It's against human nature to love others in the same degree as we love ourselves. Because we always love ourselves a little more. Okay? Then, right away, he had actually two questions, because it seems that this mitzvah actually contradicts another mitzvah where it says, Chayecha kodmim lechayecha vercha. In the Gemara, I'm sorry, I don't have the exact place where in the Gemara it is written, where it says, Chayecha kodmim lechaye chavercha, that your life comes first before the life of your friend. And it brings an example. What does this mean? It means like this. There were two people who were traveling through the desert. Each one of them had water, right? Traveling through the desert. However, they got to a point where, let's say for argument's sake, Abraham and Yitzchak, right? So Abraham still had water, but Yitzchak his water was finished. So what should they do? Should they share the water? In that case, none of them will come alive out of the desert. Or should just Abraham keep the water for himself? And this way, he'll be able to survive at least. The other way, if both of them die, according to the Tana Ben Petura, who says that it's better that if they should share the water, because at least Abraham is not going to see Yitzchak die, or Yitzchak is not going to see Abraham die and witness this horrible death. So they should really share the water, right? But what is a result going to be? That both of them are going to die. So the Ramban says it's better. This was actually the accepted halacha until Rabbi Akiva came along, and Rabbi Akiva taught, and he says, "Chayecha kodmim lechaye chavercha," that your life comes before your friend. It means that your life takes precedence to the life of your friends, right? In that case, then Avraham would not share the water with Yitzchak. And where does Rabbi Akiva come up with? From where does he get this answer? Rabbi Akiva learned this principle from V'chai achicha imach in Sefer Vayikra, in Perek Kaf-He, Pasuk Lamed Vav 36, it says, "Let your brother live with you." V'chai achicha imach. What does this mean? It meaning that the duty to uphold your brother's life applies only when your own life is not at risk, is not in danger. But when your life is in danger, then you do not have to give up your life for your friend. Okay. Now, in that case, now we understand the obligation to love one's fellow as oneself. Do we really? Do we still? Are we okay that we have to love someone else as much as we love ourselves? So the Ramban says this is not to be taken really literally. No, one is not obligated to love others as much as he loves himself. But the Torah's intent. So what does this mean then? Then the Ramban explained that the Torah's intention is that one should selflessly desire goodness for his fellow. He should really want, as much as he wants for himself, he should want also good for his fellow. And he would want that his fellow should also have benefit in every aspect of his life. He should have good. So the Ramban explained, and he says, like, for example, he says, like someone, we may have a friend, but let's say, Abraham is richer than Yitzchak, right? So maybe Abraham wishes and would like to see that Yitzchak is as rich as him, but not maybe not as smart, maybe, or maybe that he wishes that Yitzchak should have, that Abraham should wish that Yitzchak should have everything, just like uh, everything, but not as much as he himself has. So that's where the Torah is telling you, "Ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha." As much as you want for yourself, you want good health. So everyone, yes, another Jew should also have good health. You want success for yourself, 100%. So that's what you should also want for another one, right? It means, in other words, have a ayin yafa, like have a good eye, like have a positive attitude toward your friend, and be selfless. Because if you don't, then the Ramban said, in that case, this is already jealousy. Let him be less than me. Cannot be like me. Has to be less than me. That's already jealousy, and for that we have to be very, very careful, right? Because we don't want jealousy to enter our heart. Jealousy can ruin our lives and other people's lives. And so one should really want only goodness for himself, right? But mostly also for the other fellow, without any limits. And we have actually in the Tanakh, we have the example of Yonatan, the son of Shaul HaMelech, and David HaMelech. At the time, David was not the king, right? He used to work for Shaul. Yonatan, who was the son of Shaul, the king, so Yonatan was a prince, and he was supposed to be the next in line after his father. And they loved each other so much that when Jonathan found out that David was going to be the king after his father and not Jonathan himself, not only that he wasn't jealous of David, but he even said to David, "You be the king, because this is what Hashem decided that you have to be. I'll be your second in command. I'll help you so that your kingdom will be strong. Your kingship will be strong." And that is ve'ahavta lereacha kamocha. There are other mefarshim who explain that by bringing the case, who bring the case of Hillel and Shammai in Masechet Shabbat 31a. And what's the case here? There was a convert who knocked on the door of Shammai, and he said, while I'm standing, a goy, sorry, it was not a convert yet. While I'm standing on one foot, I want you to teach me the entire Torah. Shammai got very angry with him and said, "Get out of here. I don't have time to waste. You're not serious about converting." Then the same goy went to Hillel. And he said to Hillel, "I want to convert, and I want you to teach me Torah while I'm standing on one foot." Hillel had a good look at him and said to him, "That's what you want to learn? No problem." And Hillel said to him, "Ma shesanui alecha, al ta'as lechavercha." Whatever is hateful to you, don't do to your fellow. It means, if you hate people to speak about you, then don't speak about other people. If you hate people to ignore you, don't ignore other people. If you hate people to, I don't know, not to be honest with you, then don't be dishonest with other people, right? And why did he tell him this? Because, as we just said, the mitzvah of ahavta l'reacha kamocha is a basic for many mitzvot of the Torah. Very, very, very many mitzvot of the Torah, right? Because the mitzvot of the Torah are divided into two groups. Mitzvot ben Adam lamakom, that the mitzvot, certain mitzvot are between us and Hashem, like tefillah, put on tefillin, mezuzah, right? Shabbat. This is between us and Hashem. But there are other mitzvot. The second group of mitzvot is ben Adam lachavero. Is the mitzvot that deal with the social life, with people in between us, like lashon hara, not stealing and not killing, and so on and so on. So when Hillel told this guy, whatever is hated to you, don't do to others, he was actually teaching him half of the Torah. Ve'ahavta l'reacha kamocha. And however, Hillel says, Ma shesanud alecha al ta'as lechavercha. Whatever is hated to you, don't do it to your friend, to another fellow. Like he taught it to him in the don't, like in negative, don't do, right? Like don't steal, don't speak lashon hara, don't kill, right? So the Rambam, Rabbi Moshe ben Maimon, and the Ramban, Rabbi Moshe ben Nachman, both of them say that the mitzvah is only not to do, right? Like don't kill, don't steal. But what about do? Like do go to visit the sick, do chesed, do and make Kala and Chatan happy on the day of their wedding. Do mitzvot that are positive, right? Do go and help your neighbor or your friend or your brother or your sister or whoever it is, right? And doing the mitzvot, the positive one, you all want others to do for us the same way, so that we should also do to others, right? So why did Hillel say don't kill, whatever is hated to you, don't do to others? He taught it to him in a negative way, in don't do, right? So the question was asked of Hillel, why did you teach him that? Why didn't you teach him to do things in the positive? So Hillel explained, he says that because he wants to convert, first he has to learn to refrain from doing bad things. Eventually, when he gets into it, he's going to understand and do and get to do the mitzvot that are positive. And so this is the teaching of Rabbi Akiva, that ve'afta l'reacha kamocha. And now we come to the question as why? Why did the 24,000 Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva die in the plague, right? From Pesach until Lag BaOmer. It means like Rabbi Akiva was burying about 750 of his Talmidim every single day. I don't know, but I know that when I go to a funeral, and it's once in I don't know how long, it touches me so much, because it reminds me of my parents when they passed away and whatever other people, and it hurts. How did Rabbi Akiva, how was he able to survive this? Burying 750 of his Talmidim, right? So first let's look at why they died. There are many reasons that Many rabbis tell us and teach us about it, and they're all right. And there's one more that I never heard, but I heard recently, and that is that there is the obligation to learn Torah. Every Jew, men, women, and children, we all have the obligation to learn Torah. And there's also another obligation that someone who has learned a lot of Torah, that person has an obligation to pass on his knowledge of Torah, right? And unfortunately, it seems that the Talmidim of Rabbi Akiva did not do that. They did not pass on their knowledge. These Talmidim, we're not talking about young men. We're talking about men who, but themselves, they were great rabbis. They were not just ordinary little people. But unfortunately, all that they had learned was not passed on to others. And it seems that that was the reason why they all died in a plague. And so Rabbi Akiva had to start again. He had to pass on the Torah that he learned, right? And so he started with 5 Talmidim. So let's think for a moment. It's really incredible that Rabbi Akiva had the emotional strength to start all over again. Why? Because when 2 people or a group of people learn Torah, it creates a bond, an emotional bond between these people. And this bond can never be broken. So, like, for example, that's the reason when young boys go to yeshiva, and it's very important for them to bond with their rabbis. Very important. That bond actually strengthens their learning, and they feel a connection, and it strengthens their beliefs, and it helps them to reach higher goals and to learn further. And they feel, okay, someone cares about me. Unfortunately, when we see young men who seem to be lost or who they're learning, not doing so well in their learning, usually what's their answer? They'll tell you no one cares. Why? Because they weren't able to form that bond with their Rabbi. Now Rabbi Akiva had to start over again. He had to go past his pain and start all over again. And so he was able to teach 5 more Talmidim. And we know 2 of them became extremely famous, Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai and Rabbi Meir Baal Anes. So Be'ezrat Hashem, in our next video, hopefully we will talk about these 2 great Tanaim, these 2 great people. Thank you for listening. May Hashem bless you for wanting to learn more and to grow in Torah.